Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia adalah graduate school. Universitas Islam bertaraf internasional menjadi pusat pengkajian kebudayaan Islam yang modern, toleran, dan berkemajuan.
Secara fisik kampus ini didesain sebagai kampus yang ikonik, yang futuristik, dan diharapkan inilah salah satu model kampus dengan arsitektur tropikal. Kita harapkan bahwa para mahasiswa Sivitas Akademika itu nantinya menikmati suasana kampus yang hijau, yang berbuah, kemudian mereka juga bisa olahraga pagi, sore, naik sepeda dari asrama ke fakultas, ke library, ke masjid. Kampus ini kita harapkan betul-betul sebagai satu center for the epistemic community, pusat dari masyarakat ilmiah. Mereka ke sini betul-betul fokus untuk studi. Di samping Indonesia sebagai laboratorium yang hidup, pengalaman kita berdemokrasi, pengalaman bagaimana mendirikan republik ini, dan ini bukan Islamic State. Kita juga menjaga kebinekaan. Hal-hal seperti ini kan unik sekali. Nah, bagaimana ini bisa kita kemas dalam satu format akademik dan budaya, kemudian menjadi semacam konsumsi intelektual bagi masyarakat intelektual Indonesia dan juga bagi masyarakat luar yang datang ke sini. Karena sebuah universitas itu mesti ada yaitu program humaniora, ilmu sosial, sains, di samping juga studi keagamaan. Dengan adanya beberapa tenaga ahli dari dalam luar negeri, mereka itu tidak saja memberi kuliah bagi mahasiswa dalam kelas, tapi kita harapkan mereka juga bisa diambil manfaatnya dan memberi manfaat pada komunitas di luar kampus ini. Dengan demikian kampus ini tidak saja dimiliki oleh masyarakat Indonesia, kita harapkan kampus ini dimiliki juga oleh dunia Islam. Keislaman yang berkembang dan yang kita kembangkan itu keislaman yang terkoneksi, terbuka, berdialog dengan ilmu-ilmu yang lain. Sekarang bagaimana kampus ini juga menyambung perkembangan sejarah yang agak terputus, satu bangunan ilmu yang sudah terpisahkan, yang sudah terdistorsi, yang termiskinkan. Kampus Islam itu tidak hanya Islamic Studies sesungguhnya, tapi juga mencakup berbagai ilmu-ilmu yang lain.
Dari Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia akan lahir intelektual yang memahami persoalan kehidupan global, menghadirkan solusi yang efektif dan bermanfaat untuk semesta. Rahmatan lil alamin. Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia adalah graduate school. Universitas Islam bertaraf internasional menjadi pusat pengkajian kebudayaan Islam yang modern, toleran, dan berkemajuan.
Secara fisik kampus ini didesain sebagai kampus yang ikonik, yang futuristik, dan diharapkan inilah salah satu model kampus dengan arsitektur tropikal. Kita harapkan bahwa para mahasiswa Sivitas Akademika itu nantinya menikmati suasana kampus yang hijau, yang berbuah, kemudian mereka juga bisa olahraga pagi, sore, naik sepeda dari asrama ke fakultas, ke library, ke masjid. Kampus ini kita harapkan betul-betul sebagai satu center for the epistemic community, pusat dari masyarakat ilmiah. Mereka ke sini betul-betul fokus untuk studi. Di samping Indonesia sebagai laboratorium yang hidup, pengalaman kita berdemokrasi, pengalaman bagaimana mendirikan republik ini, dan ini bukan Islamic State. Kita juga menjaga kebinekaan. Hal-hal seperti ini kan unik sekali. Nah, bagaimana ini bisa kita kemas dalam satu format akademik dan budaya, kemudian menjadi semacam konsumsi intelektual bagi masyarakat intelektual Indonesia dan juga bagi masyarakat luar yang datang ke sini. Karena sebuah universitas itu mesti ada yaitu program humaniora, ilmu sosial, sains, di samping juga studi keagamaan. Dengan adanya beberapa tenaga ahli dari dalam luar negeri, mereka itu tidak saja memberi kuliah bagi mahasiswa dalam kelas, tapi kita harapkan mereka juga bisa diambil manfaatnya dan memberi manfaat pada komunitas di luar kampus ini. Dengan demikian kampus ini tidak saja dimiliki oleh masyarakat Indonesia, kita harapkan kampus ini dimiliki juga oleh dunia Islam. Keislaman yang berkembang dan yang kita kembangkan itu keislaman yang terkoneksi, terbuka, berdialog dengan ilmu-ilmu yang lain. Sekarang bagaimana kampus ini juga menyambung perkembangan sejarah yang agak terputus, satu bangunan ilmu yang sudah terpisahkan, yang sudah terdistorsi, yang termiskinkan. Kampus Islam itu tidak hanya Islamic Studies sesungguhnya, tapi juga mencakup berbagai ilmu-ilmu yang lain.
Dari Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia akan lahir intelektual yang memahami persoalan kehidupan global, menghadirkan solusi yang efektif dan bermanfaat untuk semesta. Rahmatan lil alamin. Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia adalah graduate school. Universitas Islam bertaraf internasional menjadi pusat pengkajian kebudayaan Islam yang modern, toleran, dan berkemajuan.
Secara fisik kampus ini didesain sebagai kampus yang ikonik, yang futuristik, dan diharapkan inilah salah satu model kampus dengan arsitektur tropikal. Kita harapkan bahwa para mahasiswa sivitas akademika itu nantinya menikmati suasana kampus yang hijau, yang berbuah, kemudian mereka juga bisa olahraga.
Foreign Affairs of Indonesia enters the venue. Thank you. another event after this one, uh, under the Faculty of Islamic Studies with Sakdia Ma'ruf, the first female Muslim stand-up comedian, and also a recipient of the Vaclav Havel International Prize for Creative Dissent in 2015. Thank you. Public lecture will start in a few minutes. We encourage you to keep your mask on and please stand when the Minister of Foreign Affairs enters the venue. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia enters the venue. Thank you. Welcome the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Her Excellency Retno Lestari Priyansari Marsudi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Her Excellency Retno Lestari Priyansari Marsudi, Rector of the Indonesian International Islamic University, Professor Komarudin Hidayat, the Ambassador of the Republic of Armenia to Indonesia, His Excellency Serop Bejanyan, the Ambassador of Syrian Arab Republic to Indonesia, His Excellency Abdul Monem Annan, the board members of Triple IU, and all distinguished guests. Welcome to the Triple IU Public Lecture, Indonesia's Foreign Policy and the Muslim World. I am Fahrul Hafiz Rinaldi, and on behalf of the Triple IU Organizing Committee, I would like to extend our highest appreciation for your attendance and participation. Ladies and gentlemen, to commence this event, please rise as we sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Please return to your seats. We will now invite Professor Komarudin Hidayat to deliver his welcoming remarks. Professor, the podium is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your Excellency Ibu Retno Marsudi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Sherob Bijanian, Ambassador of the Republic of Armenia to Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Munim Anan, Ambassador of the Syrian Arab Republic to the Republic of Indonesia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to everyone and welcome to Triple IU. Before we start, I would like to congratulate our Foreign Minister, Ibu Retno Marsudi, on two things. First, we are very proud of what Indonesia has achieved in the last G20 summit. Indonesia has been successful in taking the leading role as the president of G20, and Ibu Retno Marsudi has been instrumental in the successful Indonesian chairman in G20. And the second one, a happy belated birthday, Bu Menlu. Give applause. Last Sunday, the 27th of November, she entered, well, please guess, how young is she? Well, I would say more or less 45 years old. We wish you more success and healthy life for many years to come, to continue your role in leading Indonesia to navigate the world that has been filled with the uncertainties in the past few years. Well, it is in this context of navigating the world of uncertainty that we organize this public lecture today. We are very honored that Ibu Foreign Minister agrees to come in person despite her very, very tight schedule to give a lecture to us. We are very thankful, and also Ibu Retno is one of the members of Board of Trustee of Triple IU, anggota MBA. This university becomes possible also because of her help and contribution. Thank you, Bu Retno. Part of the mission of the university is also to represent Indonesia as a Muslim majority and yet also a plural society with population composed by various ethnic, languages, and religious backgrounds, with an electoral democracy currently at work, and economic relation that connect Indonesia well with both the West and the Muslim worlds. Again, the role of Ibu Retno is quite instrumental in this issue. As the largest Muslim country in the world, Indonesia has been playing an increasingly important role in world affairs, not only because of its large number of Muslim population, but also due to its alternative look of Islam, which is regarded as moderate, that combine Islam with democracy, human rights, and modernity, three characteristics linked closely to the West. Indonesia's Islam has been generally regarded as moderate, tolerant, and outward looking. The way that Islam has spread and developed in Indonesia has contributed to this distinctive characteristic of Indonesian Muslim, which are quite different from the rest of the Muslim world. And I hear this story coming from our student, from foreign student. They start witnessing and some of them giving testimony what kind of moderate Islam which growing in Indonesia. It's quite interesting story of them. Though Islam has been an integral part of Indonesia's socio-political history, we rarely frame our foreign policy action under the notion of religion. Constitutionally, because Indonesia is not Islamic country, so the relationship in the global issue, especially based not only based on religion as a majority, but it is because Indonesia constitutionally is a democratic country. So our defense of the Palestinian land, for example, it is based not on religion, but on humanity and the case of self-determination. Similarly, when President Soeharto has visited to Bosnia during the ethnic, well, the time there was a ethnic religious conflict in 1995, was also framed under the global responsibility of Indonesia's leadership in non-aligned movement at that time, not based on a religion. We hope that from today's lecture by Foreign Minister Ibu Retno Marsudi, we can learn how Indonesia deals with the Muslim world and how Indonesia bridges the relationship between the West and the Muslim world. Thank you, Bu Retno, again for your coming. It's quite meaningful for us for the development and future of this university. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor. We can now begin the public lecture session. Please welcome the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Her Excellency Retno Marsudi, to begin her lecture, and Dr. Rifki Muna, a lecturer from the Faculty of Social Sciences, as the moderator to chair this session. Dr. Muna, the time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. Honorable guests and colleagues, it is indeed our honor that we have our Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi to be with us in this afternoon. I'm Rifki Muna from Faculty of Social Science, and I'm being asked to be the moderator for this afternoon. Well, I also would like to welcome our Minister, Her Excellency Retno Lestari Priyansari Marsudi, and it is great that we have her today. And I just would like to give you some little introductions on her. That, well, Pak Rector just mentioned that Ibu Menteri just had birthday. Very just 3 days ago actually. I also would like to extend my happy birthday to Ibu Menteri. Well, Minister Retno Marsudi, she is a career diplomat. And if we check into her DNA as well as her blood, is 100% diplomat. And she has a lot of achievement. And among her achievement was she has amazing diplomatic career. And she was appointed to lead and several strategic posting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when she was still very young, comparing to other diplomats at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Until then, also, when she was appointed to become ambassador to Norway and Iceland. And then after that, she was also become ambassador to the Netherlands. Until then, in 1914, President Jokowi invited him to return to Indonesia to lead the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And on her shoulder, we rely on the Indonesia's diplomacy globally, and to lead the diplomacy of its 280 million population at the global stage. So, and the topic that she would like to give us today is very important on the Indonesia's foreign policy and the Muslim world. And please, Minister Retno, Ibu Retno, the time is yours, the podium is yours. Please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like also to convey my belated birthday to Dr. Rifki because he was also born on the 27th of November. If I'm Yes, exactly. So he was born on the 27th of November as well. So we share exactly the same birthday. Professor Dr. Komarudin Hidayat, Rector of University Islam International Indonesia, Dr. Rifki, ambassadors, um, colleagues, the distinguished academics, and also students. Of course, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me today. People say that life begins at 60, so here I am now. Um, and Professor Komarudin mentioned about the G20. Yes, we just finished the whole year presidency of the G20. Thanks God, Alhamdulillah, that the mission impossible is well accomplished, and it shows it shows the leadership of Indonesia. So thank you very much for the good words conveyed to us upon the completion of the presidency of Indonesia. And actually, I wish to stay longer here because I mentioned to Professor Komarudin that I was here when there is none on the land. So since the very beginning, I was here together with Pak JK at that time. So I'm so glad that now I can see many buildings already established, and I wish you all the best success with this university because I think that university is very important for Indonesia and it's part of our contribution to the Muslim world. But I could not stay long because after this meeting, I have to chair the COVAX AMC engagement group. That is something related to the vaccine distribution all over the world. So I have to co-chair it today. Right. So first of all, again, I'm so delighted to interact with the academics community, and the theme for today's lecture is very timely and relevant. As I mentioned to you, we just concluded the presidency in the G20, and Alhamdulillah, it was concluded in a high note. It demonstrated Indonesia's ability to navigate the G20 through the crisis and reignite the spirit of collaboration among its members. Colleagues, Indonesia has a long-standing track record in advancing the spirit of collaboration. Let me take you back to the 1960 when President Sukarno shocked the world with his "to build the world anew" speech. In his speech before the United Nations, he underlined the importance of spirit of collaboration as the only answer toward the problem facing the world at that time. It then became a defining moment for non-aligned movement. And 5 years before, Indonesia also initiated the Asian African Conference. In Bahasa Indonesia, we call it KAA, Konferensi Asia Afrika, to promote cooperation among developing countries. The global situation at that time was quite similar to what we are facing today, to what we are facing during the G20 presidency. Increased rivalries among great powers, conflict resulting in crippling global crisis, and all the while, the interests of the developing countries are being sidelined. On both occasions, Indonesia refused to be a bystander. We took, both during the Asia African Conference as well as during the Non Aligned Movement, we took the leadership. We revived the spirit of collaboration. And during the presidency of the G20, we managed the same spirit, we adopted again, and we managed to break the stalemate among countries and defy everyone's expectation. Indeed, the successful adoption of the leaders' declaration by consensus has taken the world by surprise. Colleagues, when we started our presidency, almost everyone got a very bold pessimism that Indonesia will be able to reach to navigate the G20 and the G20 could produce a declaration. So the pessimism was so obvious and very bold. We managed to push an agreed outcome amidst a divided world. There are two important precedents that are worth noting. The first one, ensuring equality in global governance. Indonesia showed that the developing countries, developing world can shape the global agenda. Second, generating concrete deliverables. The presidency of Indonesia and the G20 ensured that the outcome is not limited to a narrative, but concrete action. For the first time, the G20 has resulted in concrete projects that truly benefit people in developing countries. At least, and it was in the annex of the declaration, and be part and partial with the declaration, at least 361 projects valued at around 300 billion US dollars are reflected in the G20 action for strong and inclusive recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from those two precedents I mentioned, Indonesia has also shown its DNA as a bridge builder to seek common ground while reserving differences. So, if you look at the declaration for the student, if you want to read the declaration, then especially for paragraph 3, you will see that there are differences among members. We preserve differences. However, they are committed, leaders of G20 committed to build strong cooperation, not only for the G20, but also for the world. So no wonder the UN Secretary General mentioned that Indonesia has demonstrated an enormous capacity to bring parties together, to promote dialogue, and to try to push for solution. So from the success of the G20 summit, we can see similar key principle underlying the G20 and the Bandung conference. Spirit of collaboration, collective leadership, and collective responsibilities, integrity and equality, and justice, and solidarity. So those principles were well reflected in the Bandung Conference on the non-aligned movement, and it was also well reflected during the G20 summit. So the spirit of non-aligned movement must continue to be reignited to address current global challenges faced by developing countries and the Muslim world. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we must be honest toward the problem facing by the Muslim Ummah today. 21 members of the OIC are least developed countries. 21% of the total population of the OIC lives on less than 1.9 US dollar per day. The need to improve literacy rates in the Muslim world is also very high. So these situations are also worsened with the proliferation, of both interstate as well as intrastate conflict among the Muslim countries. So we have to be very honest to us. 60% of conflict globally are occurring among us. So the Muslim Ummah is also not immune from the geopolitical rivalries. Unfortunately, it happens. In fact, some Muslim countries are also being used as proxies. That is also fact. So this fact should serve as a wake-up call for the Muslim world. The Muslim Ummah must first be able to solve our own problem in order to further contribute as part of solution for the global challenge. And against these problems, we have no other choice but to revive the Bandung spirit in today's global context. That is why Indonesia foreign policy is focused to revive the spirit of collaboration. Such a spirit must serve as a basis for new movement of developing countries. So we as developing countries, we have to maintain, we have to strengthen even further the spirit of collaboration among us. And once we are united, we can influence others, even or including the developed countries, about the importance of this paradigm of collaboration. So moving forward with this spirit, there are at least 3 areas that we must continue to push for Muslim Ummah. First, reigniting the spirit of peace in the Muslim world. Colleagues, the spirit of peace is at the heart of Islam itself. This should be the guiding rule for the Muslim Ummah. Peace should be something we work for, not be taken for granted. We should be waiting for peace instead of war. In the world full of challenges, we must not forget about the plight of the Palestinian people. We still owe them their independence. And this is one major homework to be fulfilled by all of us. Indonesia diplomacy is geared toward forging unity among us behind the Palestinian cause. And at the same time, we also call unity among the Palestinian people themselves. Second, accelerating recovery in the Muslim world. Economic recovery effort for the Muslim countries so far remains very challenging, as facing also by the world right now. Our brother and sister in the Muslim world are heavily impacted by the ongoing food and energy crisis. The 2021 OIC report mentioned the shortcomings in achieving the SDGs by 2030. We are in their need for a stronger solidarity for economic recovery. In short term, Indonesia always call for an increased economic cooperation within the OIC for the interest of Ummah. Indonesia also urged the OIC to be united to ensure a fair global economic governance. And in the long run, Muslim countries must come up with concrete initiatives to advance prosperity in the Islamic world. And Indonesia will continue to push to work together with the Muslim communities, with the Muslim countries to pursue green economy, because green economy is our future. And third, and this is very important, empowering women in the Muslim world. Ladies and gentlemen, our credibility on this issue is unmatched. Indonesia is the living proof that Islam and women empowerment can go hand in hand. Actually, there are three: Islam, women empowerment, and democracy can go hand in hand. And we cannot shut our eyes to many major works to be done for women in the Muslim world on education, economic, and participation in the public domain, and political engagement. We must continue to push for women empowerment because we believe that investing in women means investing for the future of Ummah. I want to repeat, investing in women means investing for the future of Ummah. So that's why Indonesia advocates the right to education for women, including in Afghanistan. And together with Qatar, Indonesia will organize international conference on Afghan women education early next month. So I will co-host together with Qatar an international conference to support education for women in Afghanistan. So, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to reaffirm Indonesia's commitment toward the causes of the Muslim Ummah through ensuring the continued upholding of the spirit of Bandung Conference, non-aligned movement, and now I can say with the spirit of the G20. Because during the G20, we can once again prove that the only option is by upholding and implementing the spirit of collaboration and cooperation. So I look forward for the UIII. So that is the university has the longest I, UIII, academic contribution toward this effort, because you play a very important role, Pak Rector, for the education in the Muslim world. And don't forget once again, for women education. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Minister. It has been very substantive aspect that she already addressed in her lecture in this afternoon, and from the importance of the spirit of collaborations and also positions of Indonesia, which is succeeded in leading or become the president of G20. It has also direct impact to the Muslim Ummah and also the Muslim development. And one more is the important for us to understand the reality of the Muslim world or the Islamic Ummah, which is we need to address it very seriously from the aspect that she already identified. And also the relevance, I think it is also important, relevance between Bandung spirit and also the spirit that we need to address to the Muslim Ummah as well as through the vehicles of G20 as well. Well, I do realize that minister only have very limited time, but I think would be okay to take some. Okay, we will take time for questions about maybe 10 or 10, no, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10, not 10 questions, 10 minutes. Yeah, there are many guys. Oh ya, silakan, monggo. Yeah. Uh, well, I would like to start from that side, Ali. But then please mentions your names, where you from, and which faculty
Can
you
we
are.
have the women first? Sorry, ma'am.
I will start them from the front. I think we have you are in the front with Kuri. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Please. You start with the women first, and then move to the men. Okay. Yeah. Minister also mentioning on the importance of women empowerment for the Indonesia's most program for the global diplomacy. And please, your time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the
Please introduce
opportunity.
yourself.
Yes, my name is Kuri. I'm from Unity University. Bu Retno, congratulations again for G20 and no birthday, the 45th birthday. Um, I'm interested in your concept of uniting the Islamic world. Like your comment on how we can apply this in the case of Ukraine and Russia. For example, the Muslim world is divided. According to the regions and interests, of course, we can see that the Gulf states they tend to play different role in the conflict because they have interest in the high price of the oil. We in Asia, for example, we have more concern on how to maintain Russia's role in the region so that we are not caught in between superpower rivalries. So we have different interests based on different regions. How is there any plan to come up with the idea to unite these differences and perhaps the role of OIC to begin with? Thank you.
Okay, I think we will collect the question first, and then minister then answer. The second would be that you are Ali, please.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Muhammad Ali. I'm from Yemen, also from Faculty of Social Science. I believe that Indonesia is one of influential country in OIC, and according to OIC report, 60% of conflict around the world in the Muslim world. That's why OIC started the project of mediation. However, because of many countries are involved in these wars or interstate conflict, also intervention in the term of security concern. So this country can't lead this project of mediation in Muslim world. And the state that should lead this project is a state that not part of any war, a state that is democracy, so that in the term of transparency, and a state that has its weight in the international system. And I think Indonesia is the ideal country for this project. So my question is, will we say Indonesia play this great role? And if that, what should be the role of university, triple IU, in the field of research and education, especially that university adopted the wasatiyah for this for its ideology. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the women behind Ali, yeah, you please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name Ananda Olga Ulima Bu Retno from Master of Economics. So maybe my question is little bit confrontative, Bu Retno. So we know that Turkey has already held the World Halal Summit, but what the facts now, Indonesia is just to be a consumer, not a producer in terms of in halal industry. So my question for you, maybe in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is, so what the future policy that you can recommend to support the government to bring Indonesia as a leader in the world halal industry? Thank you, Bu Retno.
Thank you. Yeah. Uh, yeah, Ararat. Okay, please. Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Foreign Minister. It's an honor to have you here and to listen to your lecture. And also, it's an honor for me to have my two countries' ambassadors sitting together in this theater room. My question regarding the foreign policy of Indonesia that undertaken now in terms of spreading and giving example of moderate Islam, and that is a term is being used al-wasatiyah. But to what extent can Indonesia perform on global level, not only among the Muslim Ummah, but in more globally to represent peaceful collaboration between not only Islamic countries, but in general with the whole world. For example, I'm being an Armenian. I can give you a study case that how we are in the Middle East and in South Caucasus, one of the rare nations and countries that we have brotherly relations with Muslims and with Islamic world, precisely with Syria, with Lebanon, even with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar lately. So how from theory we can move that experience on reality on the ground, because the other side, radicalism and extremism, we all know that they are making not only big noise, but they are performing as it happened in Middle East. So the other side is only talking theoretically and nicely that we have to cooperate and create the middle path and the bridge between East and West, or Christian world and Islam world, but on the ground, how mechanism we can create to function reality. I brought one example in the Middle East, but what Indonesia can perform and show new method. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I think satu lagi kemudian ya. One more please. Okay. That lady is the left behind. Yeah. Please. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And thank you so much for spending so much time on educating people on the importance
Please
of empowering
introduce
women.
yourself, please.
I'm sorry. My name is Fatujite from the Republic of the Gambia, and I am from the Faculty of Economics and Business. You spoke about empowering Afghan women, and Afghanistan, I would say, is a Muslim majority country. But also, when you look at other African countries, for example, I would say the Gambia, Senegal, maybe Ghana. Actually, when it comes to education, there is a huge disparity. But even though education on the part of education is better, but when it comes to leadership positions, we see women at the back. So then, as Indonesia, you spoke about how you want to empower women, especially Afghan women. So I also want to ask, what is your role in terms of empowering women that are outside Afghan, like the African countries where you have majority of the poor and a lot of disparities between men and women? And my second question is, as UIII is trying to empower women, especially the Afghan, and they are doing a lot of work on that. Thank you very much. But how will you unite with the UIII that is trying to empower these people that are facing struggles, especially women? How do you have that partnership in terms of empowering other women that are outside Afghan, like maybe African countries or beyond? So that's my question. Thank you very much,
Thank
and
you.
happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll take this first, and Minister will respond. And if we have time, we'll take again. But if the time is limited, then we'll time. Okay, Minister, time is yours, please.
Well, thank you very much. Those five questions are very, very good question, and it's a bit tough for me to answer those questions. So I would like to answer at once and try to cover all five questions. Number one, Africa. If you're talking, when I mention about Afghanistan, it doesn't mean that we forget about our brother and sisters in Africa, because we were already with Africa since 1955 when we had the Asia African Conference. And even before the pandemic, and it is still there in our policy, that Africa is one of the priority of our foreign policy. Professor Komarudin, when we look at the history, 1955, we were already with African. But if we look at the statistical data of the economic cooperation, then we will understand that we were not at the maximum pace, at the maximum capacity to convert the very good political relation with Africa into a good economic relation with Africa. So that's why bolstering, strengthening the economic cooperation with African countries is now one of the priorities of Indonesia foreign policy. And we made it. Before the pandemic, we have the Indonesian African Forum. And then a year after that, we have the Indonesia African Infrastructure Forum. So we not only talk the talk, but we walk the talk. So we translate it into the economic cooperation. So that's why here and then, and you travel to Africa, you will see many projects between African countries with Indonesia, especially on infrastructure, Pak Rektor, on the building road and others. So we understand that there is a must for Indonesia to strengthen our cooperation, especially on the economic side with our African brothers and sisters. So that's why during the G20 event, we not only invited NEPAD, but we also invited the chairman of African Union. So there were two representatives of two organization, big organization in Africa. That is to show that Indonesia will always be with Africa. That is number one. Number two, that is Arara asks about the global role of Indonesia, uh, what Indonesia can do larger than only in the Muslim world. Again, if we talk about Asia Africa Conference, if we talk about the non aligned movement, the establishment of the non aligned movement, we were talking at that time among developing countries. So like-minded countries. And people will say, well, of course, it's easier for you to talk among the like-minded because you have similar situation. That is our history. The history that just written by Indonesia in the G20. The G20 is not like-minded at all. There are developed countries, almost half of it are developed countries. Another half is emerging economies. So there is South Africa, India, Indonesia, Argentina, and others. So we are working with them, not only among like-minded countries, but also countries which have different position, especially, for example, on the geopolitics. We preserve the differences among the G20 because it is inevitable that we are all different. So that is a fact. Just be there. Differences is differences. We are not pushing that all of us has to have one position on the geopolitics, which is impossible. So while preserving the differences among the G20, at the same time, we see that actually every country wants to have cooperation. So we talk one by one with them and ask, do you want to cooperate still? And the response was very positive. Yes, but we are different with them. Okay, so just set aside the differences. Let us focus on the commitment to cooperate. So we pick up the interest, the remaining interest of having cooperation among the G20 and then pull it together and make it bolder and put it in the declaration. So once again, we want to play our role beyond the Muslim world. We are the largest economy in Southeast Asia. And next year, Indonesia will be the chair of ASEAN. We are the largest Muslim population in the world. And of course, we want to play a role and to contribute. Actually, the the very important word is not only to play the role, but to contribute to the Muslim Ummah. But being a member of the G20, of course, we want to play a role and contribute to the world. And it comes to the question of Curry and also Ali, how we play the role to contribute, how we play our role during the G20 after we see so many differences. The only role that we can play is to bridge those differences. So that's why if you look at Indonesia foreign policy, we always say that we try to play a role or to build bridges among differences. Not only one bridge, but as many bridges as required. And we try the key success of Indonesia in the G20 because one, we listen to them. It's not easy to listen, but Indonesia leadership play that role. Yes, I am the presidency of the G20. I want to listen from you. Second, after we listen and we see there are so many differences, then we say, would you mind if I build bridge for you to bridge your differences? So again, building bridges is very important. And I think building bridges is now becomes one of Indonesia DNA in foreign policy. And then it comes to the Ukraine and Russia. I recall very much what my President Jokowi mentioned during the opening of the G20 summit. I think it's more than once he mentioned about it. Stop the war. Stop the war. If you want to be responsible to the current generation, if you want to be responsible for the next generation, and if you want to be responsible for the economic recovery, then the only thing that we can do now is stop the war. Because war will not bring you anywhere. You will only suffer from the war. And who are the most affected by the war? Developing countries. Developing countries are always those who impacted the war the most because of the war. You are talking, Kuri, you are talking about energy, you are talking about food. There is an energy crisis, there is a food crisis. One thing that Indonesia is now working together with many countries is to ensure that there won't be any fertilizer crisis next year. Why fertilizer is very important? This year, we encounter wheat crisis. The impact is in Europe, Middle East. But if we cannot address fertilizer, not able to rejoin fertilizer, reintegrate fertilizer in the supply chain, the global supply chain, what are we going to see? What we are going to see is the crisis of rice. Because the yield, the harvest yield will be lower. And if rice crisis happen, it relates to more than 3 billion people, including us, people living in Asia. So that's why it's good that the G20 also address the issue of food, of energy, even mentioned about the Black Sea grain initiative, Istanbul package, and it's good that the Black Sea grain initiative is finally extended also. So we have to work very hard to address the issue of energy and food. Because don't forget that energy and food is part of the very basic human right of every one of us. And we as the government, has the responsibility to fulfill that right for the people to get energy and food. And again, the key is stop the war. Last response, halal industry. Ananda. If you met with the Vice President, Pak Amin Ma'ruf, one of the quite often statement coming from the Vice President is about the halal industry. And we want to play a key role in the halal industry and the Shariah economy even, because I think it's just natural as the largest Muslim country in the world, we can play that role, not only on the halal industry, but on the Sharia economy. So that is what I can respond right now. I have sibling right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ministers. Well, it has been very generous for her to share ideas, thoughts, and also wisdom in dealing with these very complex issues actually on how Indonesia dealing with the Muslim world. Uh, well, there are some issues that I would like to highlight that positions of Indonesia as peace builders as well as bridge builders. So bridge builders and peace builders, I think it is go together, and Indonesia also promote the promoting the spirits of collaborations, not only at the conceptual levels, political level, but also at the practical level. I would like to say thank you indeed to Ibu Retno, to our minister yang kita banggakan. We are very proud of her. And thank you. And finally, thanking to everyone who are come to this public lecture, attending this public lecture. And finally, I would also thanks to Faculty of Social Science that organizing this forum, and also to the Dean of Social Science, which he couldn't come because he has to do his personal isolation, isolasi mandiri, so because of that. So, but we see that this lecture is very productive. We learn a lot, and we would like to have her, of course, in the future. And this campus is, we are working at the ground level to support the Indonesia's diplomacy to the Muslim world. Even we do beyond the Muslim world, so with the spirit of the members of G20 and also as middle powers and middle country, Indonesia. Very good. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. We will be happy to have Ibu Retno as our lecturer as well. And again, I think time which is not permitted, Minister no still have to chair this afternoon for the meeting with COVAX, the Alliance for Vaccines countries, to help those who still need help for that. And this issue of COVID still continue. COVAX is also very needed for that program. Again, Ibu Retno, thank you very much. And I would like to return the time to the announcer. Please, time is yours.
Thank you,
very much.
Dr. Muna, for having chaired this public lecture session. Again, our gratitude should go to Her Excellency Ibu Retno Marsudi for her brilliant lecture and wonderful speech on women's empowerment. We also appreciate all participants for joining us. For our next agenda, we would like to invite Professor Komarudin Hidayat to present a token of appreciation to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you. For a quick photo session, I would like to invite Her Excellency to face the screen. Yeah, correct. All right. So, yes. So be ready, everyone. You can stand if you want. I think it's much better. Or yeah, yeah. For all audiences, you can stand up.